Hey, Ryan Michael Galloway with We Don't Need No Stinking Record Company.com. Off to the side here because I've been using my keyboard to tell folks about really super basic music theory. And I do want to let you know a little bit more about how chords are structured within a key, so that maybe when you work with other musicians, if you're just starting to dabble in this stuff, that it can make sense. But one of the things I would tell you is that remember we established a major chord and a minor chord. You're just taking every other note of the key, and depending on where you're starting it on, which sounds it sets up. But for harmony-wise, just so you know, what establishes a major or minor chord in sound is the third. This is a fifth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a fifth. The middle note, which is the third, could be a major third, hear that? Or aha. That's a minor third. A major third, a minor third. Major third, minor third. So the minor chords sound a lot darker, and you probably have experimented around with playing songs in the key of, say, A minor. Okay. Also, you can take a chord, any kind of chord, minor or major, and keep building thirds on top of it. So that would have been I believe that's a seventh, that's a ninth. Get really weird. I think that's an 11th. Anyway, I got friends out there like Matthew Gaskins and Eric Sykes who are probably rolling around on the floor and laughing right now because they've got degrees in this stuff and I don't. But I'm just telling you that you can keep stacking every other note and get more and more jazzy and interesting chords as you go. You can skip notes in the middle, like and skip remember the third? Now it sounds kind of empty and you can't tell if it's a major or a minor chord. When you have chords that don't have the third establishing the major or minor sound, it's basically an open fifth, but it can also be called a modal chord. So those are some of the kinds of things. And also, when you play with a bass player, they should usually be playing the tonic note, first note of the chord, on the first beat of every measure. Now there are exceptions to that, because some people like to take and maybe put a different note in the bottom to make an interesting sound. Okay, that's a fourth. Or maybe if I play an F chord with a G bass, that's got kind of an interesting sound. So to play like real stock country music or real stock rock and roll, you'd normally put, if you're playing a C chord, you're going to make sure that at the beginning of every measure you're hitting a C note on the bass. And the rest of the time you might rock to the fifth. Dum, 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 or something like that. If you're playing jazz, you may end up all over the place. And in fact, if you're playing leads or jazz and that kind of thing around these standard scales, the fact is you can add these little flourishes into notes outside the key. And as long as you don't stop on them, they're passing notes and they sound interesting and they don't have time to clash very much with other notes. And so you can do that if you want your scale to sound kind of jazzy or kind of interesting or different. All right, so I hope that helps you start to think about the key when you're writing. And what it's probably done is confuse the hell out of you, and that's okay. So what I'd like to suggest that you do, based on the last 3 or 4 nights worth of posts, is send me clarifying questions. And there's a good chance if they're a really sophisticated question, I'll turn to some of my degreed friends who've got music degrees and really know this stuff inside and out to help me explain it back to you. So I know enough to utilize it. I don't necessarily know enough to teach it inside and out. But the objective of these posts have been to make you aware, because I know an awful lot of people starting out with songwriting will throw any chord they can stand inside of a song, and it doesn't necessarily make a whole lot of sense to do it. And that's why they're not necessarily staying in the key. I am Ryan Michael Galloway, and you're at WeDon'tNeedNoStinkingRecordCompany.com.